Igbo science and technology, innovation rooted in tradition. When we think of science, we picture laboratories. When we think of technology, we picture machines. But for the Igbo, innovation began not with electricity, but with nature, necessity, and spirit. In the ancient forests of Ala Igbo, science was already alive, woven into the fabric of daily life. This is the story of Igbo science and technology, not lost, but often overlooked, not imported, but deeply indigenous, rooted in tradition, and blossoming in the present. Metallurgy, the science of the blacksmith. The Igbo blacksmith was more than a craftsman. He was a technologist, a chemist, a keeper of elemental power. Long before colonization, Igbo blacksmiths extracted and worked iron, creating tools that changed agriculture, warfare, and trade. These weren't primitive fires, they were sophisticated kilns, centuries ahead of many European counterparts. Agricultural engineering and ecological balance. In Igbo land, farming is not guesswork, it's engineering. Land rotation, companion planting, and seasonal calendars ensured not just survival, but sustainability. The Igbo farmer was also a timekeeper, astronomer, and ecologist, using indigenous knowledge to align food production with nature's rhythm. Indigenous medicine and botanical science. Long before pharmacies, there was the dibia, not just a spiritualist, but a scientist of the natural world. Through centuries of observation and oral transmission, the dibia knew what healed, what harmed, and what balanced the human body. Modern medicine now confirms what the dibia always knew. The earth is a living pharmacy. Architecture and sustainable engineering. Igbo architecture wasn't just beautiful, it was built for climate control, seismic flexibility, and resource renewal. These were green homes, before green was global. Form met function, spirit met science, tradition met technology. Civic systems and indigenous data. Igbo society had data, recorded not on screens, but in memory, symbols, and structures. Councils gathered intelligence, women's groups monitored trade, and time was marked not in hours, but in moons, markets, and music. This was analog intelligence, structured, secure, and alive. Modern adaptations, ancestral science reimagined. Today, Igbo innovators are rising again, not by copying the West, but by reinterpreting the wisdom of their own soil. From herbal biotech to climate-smart farming, the science is no longer silent. They are not returning to the past, they are taking the past forward. Igbo science is not superstition. It is observation, experiment, and innovation, passed through proverbs and practice. It is knowledge that didn't wear a lab coat, but saved lives nonetheless. Tradition is not the opposite of technology. It is its root. Subscribe, rediscover, reimagine. Women of the Igbo, matriarchs, markets, and movements, history often forgets the hands that shaped it. But in Igbo land, to forget the woman is to forget the foundation. For in the Igbo world, the woman is not a shadow. She is a force. She is matriarch, merchant, oracle, warrior. This is the story of the Igbo woman, not in the margins, but at the center of power, culture, and resistance. Mothers of the earth, guardians of the lineage. In Igbo cosmology, the woman is not merely wife or mother, she is Nni, the living bridge between ancestors and descendants. She carries the bloodline, the landline, the spirit line. Where she walks, continuity follows. Market queens and economic architects. Before banks, before balance sheets, there were women. Igbo women ran complex market systems, governed pricing, and formed trade guilds that rivaled entire economies. The Igbo market was not just commerce, it was community, and women ruled it. The Women's War, resistance reimagined. When colonial power tried to silence them, Igbo women answered with fire, not of violence, but of resistance. In 1929, thousands of women marched, protested, and shut down injustice. They fought taxes, they fought oppression, and they won. The Women's War was not a riot, it was a revolution. Dual authority, when women governed too. Igbo society wasn't strictly patriarchal. It was dual sex. Men had councils, so did women. Both governed, both judged, both led. Balance was not a theory. It was a structure. The spirit of the priestess. The spiritual realm was never male only. The most powerful mediums, the most revered healers, the clearest oracles, many were women. They didn't just interpret the spirit, they channeled it. Modern movements, ancient power. Today, Igbo women are CEOs, activists, politicians, and poets. But they are not becoming powerful. They are returning to it. Because what was once buried is now blooming again. The Igbo woman is not a footnote. She is the author, the editor, and the keeper of the story, and her story is still being written. To silence the woman is to silence the nation. Subscribe. Remember her. Rise with her. Food of the ancestors, the culinary language of the Igbo. To understand a people, eat their food. To speak their soul, taste what they taste. In Igbo land, food is more than fuel. It is language, memory, ritual, and power. Every ingredient tells a story. Every dish is a sentence in the sacred grammar of the ancestors. This is the story of Igbo cuisine, not just what was eaten, but why, when, how, and by whom. Yam, the king of crops. In Igbo culture, yam is not just a root, it is royalty. The new Yam Festival, or Iwaji, is one of the most important annual events celebrating harvest, fertility, and ancestral favor. To eat yam is to honor tradition. To grow it is to affirm manhood. To share it is to bind community. Soups as soul, ogbono, oha, bitterleaf, and beyond. Igbo soups are more than flavors, they are philosophies. Oha, made from sacred leaves, speaks of comfort. Bitterleaf, once purified, reflects the Igbo belief in cleansing pain for sweetness. Ogbono, thick and wild, mirrors the unpredictable flow of life. Each herb holds healing. Each spice speaks of memory. Palm oil, the liquid gold of tradition. Palm oil is more than ingredient. It is inheritance. In Igbo kitchens, it colors both the pot and the past, linking food to ritual, economy, and colonial resistance. It built empires and nourished generations. Food as ceremony, food as law. Food in Igbo land marks every rite of passage: birth, death, marriage, justice. Before any meeting begins, food is served. Before any word is spoken, kola is broken. It is not hospitality. It is law. It is language. The role of women, keepers of the flame. To know the taste of Igbo land, listen to the women. They are the stewards of fire, the curators of taste, the memory of the home. Through their hands, history is simmered, then served. Diaspora kitchens, new worlds, old flavors. From Aba to Atlanta, the Igbo palate travels. New generations are remixing old recipes, fusing ancestral taste with global creativity, yet the essence remains. Because even far from home, the taste remembers. Igbo food is not cuisine. It is culture. It is history passed hand to hand, fire to fire, plate to plate, a language not spoken, but savored. To eat is to remember. To share is to survive. Subscribe, taste the story. Rites of passage, from naming to ancestry. Life is not lived in years. It is lived in thresholds, moments when the self is born, reborn, and remembered. In the Igbo world, each passage through life is marked not casually, but ceremonially. These are the rites of passage, the sacred transitions from spirit to soil, and from name to ancestor. To understand the Igbo soul, we must walk with it, from the first breath to the last drumbeat. Birth and naming, destiny in a word. In Igbo cosmology, birth is not an accident, it is a return. A soul is believed to have lived before. The name given is a clue, a compass, a contract with destiny. The meaning of names like Chukwudi, there is God, Neka, mother is supreme, or Obina, father's heart. Names are not labels. They are prayers in syllables. They are truths the child must one day fulfill. Childhood to youth, the first tasks of identity. As a child grows, the village teaches. Boys are not only taught strength, but honor. Girls are not only taught care, but power. This is the beginning of purpose, shaped not in schools, but in stories, proverbs, and discipline. Before they learn to lead, they must first learn to listen. Initiation, from spirit child to adult citizen. Adulthood is not reached by age, but by passage. In the past, boys underwent iwa aqua, a symbolic ceremony marking readiness for manhood. Girls passed through rituals of fertility, purity, and preparation for marriage or spiritual service. It is not a ritual, it is a rebirth. Marriage, the union of worlds. Marriage is not merely between two people. It is between two families, two lineages, two spiritual rivers now flowing as one. It is sealed with palm wine and witnessed by ancestors. To marry in Igbo land is to weave yourself into a greater story. Death and ancestry, from dust to divine. Death is not an end. It is a return. In the Igbo tradition, the good do not die, they become ancestors. Their names are spoken, their deeds remembered, their spirits consulted. To be buried well is to be remembered well, and to be remembered is to live forever. Modern challenges, enduring symbols. Today, rites have changed, cities have grown, religions have mixed, but beneath the modern gloss, the old spirit lingers. Naming still carries power, marriage still holds the sacred, death still demands dignity. Because the rhythm of the ancestors cannot be silenced, it simply waits to be heard again. The Igbo journey is not a straight line, it is a circle. From birth to burial, the rites of passage are reminders that life is not about how long we live, but how fully we pass through each sacred door. To honor the rite is to remember who we are. Subscribe. Witness the journey. Igbo masks and masquerades, faces of the invisible. They appear without warning, cloaked in mystery, dancing through dust and time. They wear no faces of their own, only the borrowed faces of spirits, ancestors, gods. In Igbo land, to see a masquerade is not to see a performer. It is to meet the unseen. This is not theater. It is theology in motion. These are the Igbo masks and masquerades, sacred, symbolic, feared, and revered. The masquerade, manwu, more than costume. In the Igbo language, it is called a manwu, literally spirit of the dead. When a masquerade dances, it is not the man moving, it is the spirit manifesting. He does not act, he channels. He does not dance, he reveals. Types of masquerades: fear, fun, and judgment. Masquerades come in many forms. Some are terrifying, chasing evil from the land. Others are playful, mocking human folly. And some, like the Okonko or Ekpe, speak justice, enforcing the laws of the ancestors. They are not symbols. They are authorities. The mask as a portal. The mask is not decoration. It is a portal. Each curve, color, and design holds meaning. A story carved into silence. Red for power, white for peace. Animal horns for ancestral strength. Before it is worn, it is awakened. Masquerade societies, keepers of secrets. Not all may wear the mask. Masquerade societies, often all male, guard the mysteries. Their rules are ancient, their rituals sacred, their identity hidden. To enter the circle is to leave the ordinary behind. Masquerade festivals, when the spirits return. During festivals like Ijele, the largest masquerade in Igbo land, the village transforms into a spiritual stage. The masquerade does not just entertain, it blesses, warns, remembers. It is a homecoming for the spirits and a communion for the living. Colonial suppression, cultural survival. Colonial authorities saw masquerades as threats, wild, pagan, unruly. They tried to silence the drums, outlaw the dances, break the masks. But the spirits were never erased, only hidden, waiting for rhythm to return. Today's masquerades, tradition in transition. Today, the masquerade dances not only in the village but on global stages. Yet even in modern form, its essence remains. The mask still speaks. The spirit still moves. Because the spirit world has no borders. The masquerade is not a memory. It is a mirror, showing us who we were, who we are, and who watches when no one sees. The mask does not hide. It reveals. To honor the spirit, follow its dance, subscribe, see what lies behind the mask. Igbo language, a voice of earth and eternity. Language is more than speech. It is memory, identity, and power. And in Igbo land, every word is a seed, a breath from the ancestors, a link between the living and the eternal. The Igbo language is not just spoken, it is lived. This is the story of the Igbo language, a voice shaped by earth, nurtured by wisdom, tested by time, and still singing. A language of many tongues. To speak of the Igbo language is to speak of many voices. Though united by a root, Igbo branches into countless dialects, each with unique flavor, each a fingerprint of its people. Proverbs, the poetry of the ancestors. In Igbo, a proverb is not just a saying, it is the soul of speech. You cannot understand the Igbo worldview without them. They teach, they warn, they reveal. Examples. A man who does not know where the rain began to beat him cannot know where he dried his body. To speak in proverbs is to speak with ancestral authority. Writing the unspeakable. From Nsibidi to modern orthography. Before the pen, there were symbols. Nsibidi, the secret script of the initiates. Though not strictly Igbo, it danced through Igbo thought, hinting at a time when writing was sacred, visual, and encoded with mystery. Christian missionaries developing written Igbo during Bible translation efforts. Modern orthography came with the missionaries, but with it came a dilemma: translation or transformation? Language in colonization and resistance. Colonialism did not just redraw maps. It rewrote minds. The Igbo tongue, once a badge of pride, became a mark of the uneducated. Yet, even in silence, the language survived in markets, songs, prayers, and rebellion. Post-independence cultural revival. Because language cannot be buried where memory breathes. Music, film, and the return of the mother tongue. Today, Igbo is rising again, on stages, screens, and smartphones. Musicians carry it in rhythm. Filmmakers restore it to daily speech. Creators are teaching a new generation that their language is not just native, it is noble. Igbo bu ezigbo asusu. Igbo is a great language. What was nearly lost is being reimagined. The battle ahead. Will the voice endure? Yet danger remains. With globalization, migration, and English dominance, the Igbo language faces a quiet erosion. Experts warn, a language not spoken is a culture in coma. Will the future speak the language of its ancestors, or forget their voice altogether? The Igbo language is not just words. It is rhythm. It is inheritance. It is a bridge from earth to eternity. To speak it is not simply to communicate. It is to belong. Oburu na isi na asusugi adiki mikpa. Isi na inwegi isi. If you say your language doesn't matter, you're saying you have no roots. Subscribe. Speak the story. Markets and money. The ancient economy of the Igbo. Before banks, before borders, before coins bore queens, the Igbo had an economy, vibrant, sophisticated, rooted in trust, trade, and timeless rhythm. It was an economy without kings, yet rich with order, powered by the hands of women and anchored in the soul of the land. This is the story of markets and money, how the Igbo built wealth without walls, commerce without conquest, and prosperity through people. The market, heartbeat of Igbo civilization. The Igbo week is not 7 days. It is 4, Inkwo, Ike, Afor, Orie, each day ruled by a market, each market a universe. Trade was not just about goods, it was about rhythm, harmony, balance. How market days aligned with farming, festivals, and village rituals. In the market, time was kept, and destiny negotiated. Women at the helm, traders, bankers, and power brokers. In Igbo land, the market was a woman's kingdom. She sold, saved, loaned, invested. From yams to coral beads, palm oil to cloth, Igbo women built economies from baskets and ledgers carved in memory. She didn't just trade in goods, she traded in influence. Cowries and currency, the language of value. Before coins, there were cowries, white shells from distant shores, used as money, ornament, and offering. Later came rods of iron, brass manillas, and eventually colonial coins. But value was never only material. In the Igbo economy, wealth was measured in relationships as much as riches, trade routes, and long-distance networks. The Igbo did not trade alone. Their economy was woven into West Africa's broader network: salt from the north, coconut from the west, cloth and iron from the east. Igbo towns were nodes in a vibrant cross-cultural web. Where there was trade, there was connection. Where there was connection, there was growth. Colonial disruption, when coins came with chains. Then came colonization, foreign money, foreign rules. The barter systems were disrupted. Cash crops replaced community farming, and the women who once led were pushed aside by imported hierarchies. Economics became extraction. Markets became tools of control. The Igbo entrepreneurial spirit. Yesterday, today, tomorrow. Yet the Igbo spirit adapted. From ancient traders to modern industrialists, the same drive endures: resourcefulness, resilience, reinvestment. Today, Igbo markets stretch from Onitsha to Guangzhou, from Aba to Atlanta. We're still trading, just with apps now instead of baskets. The platform may change, but the purpose remains. The ancient Igbo economy was not built on greed. It was built on rhythm, on fairness, on trust. To understand it is not to look at what they bought, but how they valued life itself. Trade is not just exchange. It is relationship. It is legacy. Subscribe. Witness the value. Igbo warriors, the art of defense and honor. They fought not for conquest, but for community, not for empire, but for honor. In a land without kings, the Igbo warrior rose, not as a tyrant, but as a guardian, defender of village, enforcer of justice, keeper of balance. This is the story of Igbo warriors, masters of the bush, bearers of sacred strength, and wielders of a moral code carved in the soil of their ancestors. A society of equals, not empires. The Igbo did not build empires. They built networks, decentralized, democratic, rooted in kinship. In this egalitarian world, warriors were not rulers. They were respected but accountable. To be a warrior was to be chosen and trusted. Training the warrior: strength, spirit, and strategy. An Igbo warrior was trained not just to fight, but to endure. Wrestling, mkba, sharpened strength. Hunting forged courage. Rituals fortified the spirit. For a true warrior, fear was not in the body, but in dishonor. He did not just carry weapons, he carried legacy. Weapons and tactics. From the forest, for the people. The Igbo fought with what the land gave them: iron forged into blades, poison tipped onto arrows, and camouflage learned from the bush. War was swift, targeted, and moral. Civilians were protected. Peace was preferred. Their greatest weapon was not brute force, but strategic wisdom. The sacred warrior, dibia, and spiritual warfare. No Igbo warrior went to war without spiritual armor. The dibia, spiritual healer and guide, prepared amulets, invoked ancestors, and read omens. To fight was also to consult the unseen. Victory came from strength, but survival came from spirit. Women warriors, the spirit of ekumeku and defiance. Though men led most battles, women were not silent. In times of injustice, they rose, not with swords, but with songs, symbols, and stubborn resistance. From the Women's War of 1929 to the Ekumeku movement, they fought colonial power with unshakable dignity. Their strength was not in steel, but in unity. Colonial disruption and the erosion of the warrior ethic. Colonialism did not just seize land, it disarmed identity. The warrior became a native, the protector became a threat. Yet beneath the imposed silence, the warrior spirit simmered, in resistance, in Biafra, in memory. They may have fallen, but they were never defeated. The warrior spirit today, in mind, market, and movement. Today, the battlefield has shifted to boardrooms, politics, classrooms, and global platforms. But the Igbo warrior still rises, in defense of truth, in fight for dignity, in love for community. Because to be Igbo is to protect. The Igbo warrior does not fight for power. He stands for purpose, for people, for peace. His armor is honor, his strength, memory. A warrior's true victory is in the legacy he leaves behind. Subscribe. Remember the protectors.